All right, everyone. So welcome to the monthly Masterwork practice hour. I'm so happy to have all of you here, that all of you could join us. I'm so happy to see familiar faces from all the different classes that I teach, Marchutz, Smithsonian, around town, DC. It is great to have you all in one place and for us to get some time just practicing and being artists together. So like the title says, this is a practice hour. This is not a class. I don't have a planned lesson. I don't have anything that I need you to walk away from this session understanding. It's just time. I just wanted to create a way for all of us to, have some dedicated time to practice, because that's really the most important thing. So I've worked with a lot of you, either online or in person, and you already know that I like running my classes using Masterworks, other people's paintings that we copy in drawing or painting as a way to practice the medium, but also to see how other people put their images together and practice putting the image together ourselves. So just a reminder, the goal is not to make a forgery. You don't need to walk away from this session. We only have 1 hour anyway, so you don't need to walk away from the session with a perfect replica of the image. Just see what you see, practice making the marks or putting the colors down where you see them. Pay attention to whatever key relationships or essential elements you see in the image and try making your own image in your own touch. There's no right or wrong here, okay? Now, it's still an opportunity to learn, okay? I will be sharing my, so you'll see here, I'll spotlight this where I'm waving my hand, or I'll spotlight it right now, just briefly. So I've got my desk here, okay? This is where I'm gonna be working. I'm just gonna be drawing today, so I'll probably pull out a graphite stick and such. But I will spotlight this area, my workspace, so that you all can follow along. My drawing, as it unfolds, I'll be sharing little insights about my process, and you are more than welcome to watch me work if that will help you. I have a suggestion if you'd like to do that. Let me get this up. So if watching me work would help you, I suggest switching to gallery view, okay? If you go in the top right corner of the Zoom meeting, you'll find an option for gallery view. And then if you move your cursor from this image to the right, to my image, a vertical bar will appear, looks like this. And you can click and drag that bar and move it towards the center so that our reference image and my workspace will be a little more 50-50 on your screen, if watching me work would help you, okay? In addition to that, you're welcome to interrupt me and ask me questions. If I'm doing something and you want clarification on why I'm doing it that way or how I'm handling a certain obstacle in the drawing, feel free to just say, hey, Nick, could you explain a little more what you're doing? Or Nick, how come you put strokes there first, et cetera, et cetera. I don't suggest raising your hand or using the hand raise function, because I will be drawing and I will be looking at my pad and I won't always be looking at my screen, so I might miss you. But feel free to unmute yourself, okay, and just say, hey, Nick, and that's totally fine. I want this to be an opportunity for you to learn as well. Along with that, definitely ask me questions, but if you're not asking me a question or if you're not commenting on something that has to do with our work, I'd like it if you could stay muted just to eliminate any background noises that we may have in our homes. I'm saying that right now, and I've got dogs in the neighborhood barking and causing a ruckus, and I can only hope that that stops. But yeah, as much as possible, I like to be aware of just background noise in people's homes and creating a nice practice space for us together. So try and stay muted, unmute yourself if you want to speak up, and by all means, please speak up and ask me questions. And then beyond that, I don't think I have anything else to share. I think we're going to get ready to start. Likewise, if you're just in the zone and you don't want to listen to me chat, feel free to mute me. and pretend like I'm not even here and just draw the Monet painting that I'm putting in front of us. So this is going to be our image for the next hour, all right? And whatever you've got going on in terms of medium is totally fine. I'm going to take a sip of coffee and get started. Oh, and I will spotlight my, there we go.
Nick, could you please repeat how to make your box bigger?
Absolutely.
Thank
So
you.
my cursor is on the reference image, and to the right is probably my face really small in the corner, or my workspace really small in the corner. If you take your cursor on your screen and move it to the right, somewhere between the reference image and getting to my small thumbnail-sized workspace on the right, a vertical bar will appear. And you can click, you can click that bar and drag it, and that'll adjust the size of my workspace on your screen.
Voila, thank you.
Voila, très bien. Okay, so like I said, I will be sharing tips and a little bit of my process. Feel free to mute me if you don't want to listen to me. That is totally fine. I don't want to take you out of your zone. If you are in a flow of creativity, I will be working in graphite stick, my drawing utensil of choice. I have a whole set of pencils, mostly 2Bs, 4Bs, maybe a 3B. I might switch between them, but for right now, I'm going to do everything with this. And actually, I do have a cheeky little eraser, just in case I feel like using it. I know I've had some slightly controversial statements on erasers in the past, but I'm being easy on myself today. Now, you don't have to do this, but for these copies, I generally like to start with a rectangle, okay? I know I have some detractors. Judith, for example, is a notorious detractor for my rectangle method, and that's totally fine. No harm, no foul. But I like to start with a rectangle that's roughly the proportions of the image that I'm drawing. And that sort of helps me be really intentional about what part of my sketch pad, my paper, I am responsible for. Most of my work, my drawing, has to do with harnessing light. So I like to be really clear about what light I am responsible for harnessing and controlling, sort of like a sculptor selecting their block of marble before getting started. Okay. So generally when I do these, my next step after drawing the rectangle, I like to identify what is the lightest part of the image. So for me, I see it as the sunlit back of her dress. Okay, that's illuminated. And to me, it sits right in the middle third of the image. So I'm gonna, right in the middle third, like horizontally, vertically speaking, and a little bit to the right. So I'm just gonna designate a little part of my drawing as that light space, and then I know I can start working everywhere else. All right, so once I've designated that light area, I generally just start marking everywhere else because I know that I will be developing the shadows everywhere else in my image. But I start very light. I like to keep it really, really light at first. So I try and touch a little bit of everywhere around the painting, not at all trying to make it perfect, but just address every little bit of every little region area of the image that's going on. And, maybe right now I'm just following my pencil as it sort of gets down some of the textures in the grass. Okay. So there's not much organization to what I'm doing right now. I'm just sort of letting my eyes take a walk through those flowers in the foreground, and however my pencil sees the different areas of color, I try to make a mark that sort of corresponds to what I see there, and especially this shadow here. So I'll get a little bit of that down. Okay, not bad. And then for me, once I've sort of done like one lap around at the image, okay, the rest of it is sort of just this fun game of balancing out all of the shadows in the image. So I sort of have an idea of where the composition is and where everything is, and now I just kind of let my eye just wander and develop some of the shadows as I see them. I'm still going to start with general areas. I'm not really going to worry about articulating like the edge of this umbrella. I'm not going to worry about articulating that just yet. That can come later. All right, if I've worked with anyone in this session on Van Gogh, I've talked with you about how he differentiates his marks. And what I'm finding now is as I get into the foreground, this beautiful multicolored foreground with pinks and violets, yellows and blues. It's hard to express that if you're only working with pencil. So differentiating your stroke, trying to widen your vocabulary of stroke. I'll zoom in on that part just so you all can see. I think that is what's going to help me sort of navigate all of the different goings on in that area. And as I'm doing it, I'm kind of just hoping it doesn't turn into a big confusing mess and distract from the rest of the image, which there's always a chance it might. Oops. All right, I can already feel that I'm getting too occupied with this foreground. So let me be a little more general and start giving the rest of the image a little more attention. You know, what's great is that with drawing things, with copying them, you see things you may not have seen otherwise. If you look sort of emerging towards the left from the umbrella, sort of at 9 o'clock, if you will, there's this blue scarf that's billowing in the wind. But at first glance, I just thought it was part of the sky because it was the same color. But with a little bit further looking, aided by drawing, you tend to see more into these paintings. All right, so we're about halfway through the session now, just so we're all aware of time. So we still have about 30 minutes left. And wherever you are right now in your drawing, painting, it's totally fine. Again, it's just about practice. I'm curious though, how many of us are drawing this? Just while you're working, stick your hand up. I can see you in the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. Okay. Great. Mary, nice to see you. Okay. Great. Drawing practice is excellent. Um, in my last online class, one of the things I talked about in the group critique was how the importance of values. And what's beautiful about drawing is that values, that's all you've got. When we're painting, it's sometimes we can get drunk with color, which is great and fun, but there's a lot to be exercised with just drawing. So is it safe to assume that the rest of you are painting somehow? Yeah, Candy's nodding her head. Candy's one of my avid watercolor students. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay. Well, one of these days, let's see who will be the first person who's brave enough to set up an entire easel and bust out the oil paints and see who does okay, Rosella's drawing. Nice. Yeah, I'll be curious to see who'll be the first brave soul to try an oil painting in one of these sessions. Who knows? Maybe it'll be me next year. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so what I'm working on now is pushing into some of the darker areas in my drawing. Still using the same graphite stick, though I'm considering, sorry, switching to a softer lead pencil that would allow me to make darker tones, which is honestly something I'm usually too lazy to do, but I figure this would be a good time to try. Um, but I'm just pushing into some of the darker values now. I tend to work light to dark, and with my lightest parts, the just untouched paper, and I like to work and gradually work up to my darkest shadows. Now, I can tell that I'm entering some of the darker parts, sort of trying to see, okay, what really needs to be articulated. Um, and making it darker, all while keeping some of the beautiful balance in this drawing. Also, from anyone who's zooming in from Washington, D.C., my hometown, um, you're probably familiar with this image, but you're familiar with maybe the quote unquote finished version that Monet did, Woman with a Parasol, that's in the National Gallery in DC. That was my original choice, but I saw this study for it, and I liked a little bit more what was going on in the sky in the background, some of the contrasts, and also that there was one figure, not the little boy that's usually standing on the left over there, and less features on the face. There's hardly a face on this one, which I figured would be a little more forgiving for our first practice hour together. Oop. Okay, so here's a little look of where I'm at currently. And I think from here, I'm going to have to switch to a pencil. So I switched from a 2B to a 4B pencil, one that'll allow me to make slightly darker marks. And I think from here, I'm going to try and do a little work moving around the image again. Um, just articulating whatever needs to be articulated with the darkest marks. I like to save my darkest marks for last. And again, I use them to as sort of like some of my last touches to sort of articulate what's going on in the image. Now, I'm drawing, but don't feel pressure to keep up with me. That's not the point of this. I just hope that sort of showing a peek into my process might give you all some insight, but by no means is the expectation that you should work the same way that I do. All right, so right now I'm kind of navigating the whole umbrella head situation, and I've developed the sky to be a certain amount of darkness, and I want now the head and the umbrella, the parasol. Sorry, it's not raining in this scene. It's a parasol. I want that to really emerge from the sky that I've made a tried to make appropriately dark according to the values of the blues that I see in the top. See what I gotta do. Diane, you're very welcome. That is my hope with these sessions, to be helpful and also provide everyone a chance to practice. Diane, if you have a specific question, feel free to ask or write directly to me in a message if you'd prefer that. Okay, oh, oh, nice. Diane just sent everyone her image in the chat. Wonderful work. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Diane. Just so everyone's aware of time, we're at about a little less, just a little under 10 minutes left in this drawing session. So keep that in mind. It's not necessary to have a replica. It's not necessary to have a finished piece by any means. Just looking at this drawing and translating what you see into your pencil or your watercolor brush, that is excellent practice alone. So I don't mean that in a anxiety inducing sort of way. Yeah, well, Alice is sharing with the group in the chat that she was afraid she was going to overwork her piece, so she also used this time to sketch her dog. I think that's excellent use of this practice hour. Really, any subjects you have available to you, if everyone people work at different rates and speeds and paces, so that's totally fair game. I might even suggest, if someone was working really quick, they could use this hour to try and do 2 drawings of this copy. It doesn't have to be 1 drawing in the hour. Now, I'll talk about some things that I'm struggling with in this. I'm finding this arm really difficult. The arm that's holding the parasol, I'm finding getting that to sit just right in space. I'm not having a lot of success with it. I like everything about the figure except the arms. It makes the figure look a little skeletal in my drawing in a way that I don't like. Halloween already passed, so not.
I think in the Monet, the rear.
I'm gonna zoom in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit of an echo. But Claire, I understand. Yeah, you want me to zoom in?
No, yeah, the rear arm, even on the Monet, looks odd. Looks almost like a stick.
That echo you're experiencing is you may have Zoom on your phone and your computer, and the mics are competing with each other.
Yes.
The other thing also is that the umbrella, if you see the front, the top of the umbrella, the stick is going sort of into her head, but if you notice the stick on her arms going in a completely opposite direction, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, so you're talking about this line?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see that line, Mary, until you mentioned something. I didn't even see that line.
And that arm is complete. If you see where the elbow is on the right, on the left-hand side of that arm, there's no way that the elbow could be at the same place on the far side or the right hand.
Right. It's like the elbow would be
it doesn't make
here.
sense.
If there were pockets on this dress, the elbow would be in the pocket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that, I think so yeah, I'm struggling with that, first of all.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it goes sometimes. No shame in a little struggle here. This is pretty low stakes. It's just drawing. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty amazing what we see, how we can see more into the image by drawing it this way. And Mary, I mean, that's a really good point. This line, I'm not sure what this is meant to correspond to, but even this dark mark on the inside of the parasol, I didn't even see it until you mentioned it. I've been drawing all around it and I didn't even see it until you mentioned it. All right, everyone. So we have just a couple more minutes, maybe like 2 more minutes in this session.
This is great, Nick. Time has just flown by.
Yeah.
Time has flown by. Oh, I'm glad to
Oh
hear
my
that.
gosh.
Well, thank you all for joining. This is kind of I don't want to say an experiment, but yeah, an experiment. And I really look forward to doing this once a month. I think it'll be a fun way to first off give us all a little bit of dedicated time to practice. And yeah, I mean, it's really up to you, whatever medium you want to use. I'm happy to hear that you're all enjoying it and getting some benefit out of practicing together like this. And I'm glad the time has flown by.
It's always fun to do stuff with a community of people.
Yeah,
Andy, yeah, makes a difference, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And got me to stop and draw.
And what, stop and draw?
I was doing, yeah, stop and draw.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you just need like a little kick, you know what I mean, from someone else to get you to get your materials together and put pencil to paper or paintbrush to paper, if you will. Yeah. Yeah, Deb, no worries about speed. Speed is not the name of the game. You can work as quick or as slow as you want. And the more we do this, beautiful, Deb, thanks for sharing. You know, maybe we keep doing this more, and who knows, you may become faster, or you might even take more time because you're seeing more after practicing so much. All right, everyone. So how about we start whatever part we are working on, take a last few minutes to sort of bring some balance to your image. Here, I still have mine here on my desk. If anyone wants to see, that's sort of what I ended up with, and that's what I'm going to live with. Don't worry about putting too many strokes in the foreground. I don't know if you can have too many strokes in the foreground. Oh, wow, Candy, nice work in watercolor. Very good.
One of the things I discovered is you can blow up at the image on your computer, and then you can see all the colors he puts in things.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
Really nice to do that.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. I'm gonna just a couple more seconds, last finishing touches, and then I'm going to take this away and we will wrap up the session. So, all right. Now, all right, I'm going to remove the image, and actually real quick, I would love it if just for a quick moment, everyone could just, let me remove my spotlight. There we go. There we go. I'd love to see everyone's work real quick. If you could just show, if you're not, don't be shy, no pressure, but don't be shy. But I'd love to see just what everyone, right up to the camera. Yeah, nice, nice. There we go. Beautiful work, everyone. Lovely, lovely drawing with you. Maureen, I saw that. I like that you focused on just like the top half of the figure. That's really cool.
Yeah, well, I started off doing the whole thing and then it just fell apart. So I had a lot of trouble with the shape of the umbrella. So I thought, I'm just going to start with the umbrella and then work around it.
Very cool. Very nice. Yeah, I think it's totally great to just zoom in on certain parts. You know, if you just want to focus on, you know, the shoulders up, that's totally fine. Nice work, Alice. Beautiful. I like the subtlety in your contours. Very nice. All right, everyone. Oh, hey, Carol. Nice work, Carol. Beautiful. All right. Great, everyone. I'm so happy to see you all drawing. And think of it this way, you've already gotten some practice this week. So you don't have to you don't have to guilt yourself, you don't have to shame yourself into oh no, I really should get to my sketch pad. It's like, you know, the friend that I neglect that I never call. You're absolved of all of that this week. No worries at all there. But since you all are such excellent artists, I know you're going to practice probably 3 or 4 more times this week. Right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Before we go real quick, I just want to share a couple announcements with you. Not really announcements, but I just want to make sure that we all are clear on the places that we can stay in touch so we could find out when the next one of these practice hours will be. If you go to siteandin.site, I'll drop this in the chat. That is my website, just in case you're you're coming from the Marchutz side of things and we have not worked together in a class before, I want to make sure that you can visit my website and sign up for my mailing list there. Every month I will include the registration link for these practice hours. And then if you're on the non-Marchutz side of things, that banging out there is the workers next door, so it's probably good that we're wrapping this up. Anyways, the Marchutz School, my lovely mom and pop shop of an art school that I went to in the south of France, and I want you to be able to stay in touch with them too, because they do some great programs, and they taught me everything I know. So marschutzschool.org, check out their website. I'm doing an online class with them in March on drawing. So if you were drawing today, want to get a little more into practicing that and how to strengthen your process, we'll be working on that in March. But also sign up for their newsletter. They do some great programs. In Europe, in the States, we go to museums together. I teach classes online sometimes. So I just want you to be able to check all of these things out. So okay. Anyways, stay in touch. You most likely have my email if you're in this session. It was really great drawing with you. I'm looking forward to trying this again in December. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your Sunday. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Nick.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you later.
See you soon.